next up we have the man who needs a little introduction, the owner and inventor of the MRET technology and the current patent holder. Welcome, Dr. Igor. It's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to talk with the Pegasus Aqua management about the presentation of MRET technology in South Pacific area.
Thank you. It's great to have you here today. So I understand you've got a few presentations that's been planned out for us today. So without further delay, Dr. Igor, I'll hand the stage to you.
All right. So before I can do the actual presentation, I would like just to give some kind of urgent information regarding the MRET technology distribution in South Pacific area, specifically Singapore, Malaysia, and other countries. So I just want to confirm the audience, the clients, that the only authorized official distributor for MRET technology equipment for water treatment technology in South Pacific area, specifically Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and some other countries, is a Pegasus Aqua company based in Kuala Lumpur. And this information is, I think it's quite important because of the current issue we have in this area regarding the fake products which are extensively advertising in Malaysia and Singapore. So it's my strict confirmation that we supply with the MRET copper only Pegasus Aqua company, which is the only official distributor in this area. Okay, and now let me introduce myself a little bit. I graduated from Naval Academy in St. Petersburg in 1975 and got my master degree in engineering, and then I graduated from St. Petersburg State University in 1986 and got my PhD in psychology. So I was, extensively involved in different type of research at that time in St. Petersburg University, and probably one of the aspect is that, one second, which attracted my attention during this research was the fact that the natural mountain spring water in certain areas, they have a very profound physiological effect on human body physiology. Especially, it's very interesting that through the hundreds of generations, it was proven that the mountain spring waters can enhance health, support rejuvenation, and longevity of the human beings. For example, of the 10 oldest living people, 3 live in south part of Russia, which is quite famous with the spring natural waters. The initial step for the discovery of MRET technology was actually the accident which happened with the nuclear power plant in 1986 at Chernobyl, south part of Russia. And there was a lot of problem regarding the contamination with radioactive nucleotides. And thousands of people got radiation disease. And medical doctors, they try to resolve this issue because there is actually there is no cure for this type of problem, and they just placed people in different locations in different resorts. And just by accident, medical doctors paid attention that in certain areas the rehabilitation of the patient was much better, and they made a link to the fact that those patients, they actually consume natural spring water on a regular basis. So these samples of this water were sent to many universities and research centers in Russia just to try to find out what was actually the composition of this water. So we got these samples at St. Petersburg State University, and we did different experiments trying to figure out what is the so marvelous physiological effect of this water. Initially, we thought maybe it's some kind of like some type of chemical compounds, but after the research, we actually didn't find something special like chemical compounds in this water. Then it came to my mind that maybe it's not a chemistry of water, but physics of water. So after conducting some study like nuclear magnetic resonance testing, infrared spectroscopy, we actually found that it's really this water had a special molecular structure and a high energy level of molecular activity in the water. So after several years of intensive experimenting and research, I managed to duplicate the high energy water in the laboratory. Then I named this method molecular resonance effect technology, which states for abbreviation of MRET technology. During this process, subtle low-frequency electromagnetic signals are imprinted in the body of the water. So we know very well that about 75% of human body is actually a structured water content. For this reason, water has plays a very significant physiological role for the human body activity. Okay. We know actually the scientific research actually proves that during the continuous life activity, when human subject is aging, the content of structured water is decreased. For example, on an average basis, the infant has, for example, about 90% of structured water in the body. On the average basis, human subject around 45 years old, about 70% of structured water. And the same human subject at the age of 80 years old, only probably around 60% of structured water. So actually the structured water content of the human body is indicator for the aging process. Now, let me explain how the MRET technology device actually works. So it has a patented polymeric body which is exposed to a strong magnetic field with the position of several magnets around the polymeric body. And on the top of the polymeric body, there is a source of the optical light, which is in the range of 600, 800 nanometers. This optical light is blinking with the speed about 7.8 hertz. So when we turn on our equipment, the polymeric body actually is exposed to the optical light with the frequency of 7.8 hertz and the strong magnetic field. This type of signals, they actually excitate the polymeric structure, molecular structure of the polymer body. And this polymer body has a so-called fractal geometry, which means, in a simple word, if we expose this fractal polymeric body to the signal with the only one frequency intensity, it's kind of like the input, one signal, monosignal. The output will be a multiple oscillation signal. So it's a multi-frequency signals output. So in other words, this polymeric body generate a wide range electromagnetic oscillation frequencies, and these frequencies actually activate the body of the exposed water content. Okay, next slide. Probably a lot of maybe a lot of from the audience know a name of experimenter from Japan, Dr. Masaru Emoto. He is famous with his experiment with water, and specifically with research regarding the effect of different physical agents on the water. For example, like musical signals, like light, and different type of information. In other words, based on this experiment, Dr. Masaru came to conclusion that water can remember the imprint which this water was exposed to. So when we suggested Dr. Masaru Emoto to do testing for MRET water, he actually did this experiment, and we can see result of this experiment. So in other words, based on the Masaru Emoto research, he came to conclusion that when water is healthy, natural, and produce a lot of positive effect on the physiology of human body, it's actually, if you freeze this water, he has actually a nice geometry, kind of like a snowflake, nice geometry. On the other hand, water was exposed to different type of harsh environment, like chemical compounds, poisons, high electrical, strong magnetic fields, and in this case, the nice geometry of water gone. So it has kind of like an ugly structure. And for this reason, at this slide, you can see a difference between the MRET treated water geometry, which has nice, beautiful geometry, and the water from the different type of like a tap water. So yeah, it's a completely different structure, completely different water. Okay, next slide. We obviously conducted a number of different experiments in different universities and institutions all over the globe. And initially, the experiment regarding the physical property of MRET water we conducted at Moscow State University. And we conducted experiment regarding the effect of MRET treatment on water viscosity. This experiment actually shows that after MRET treatment, the dynamic viscosity of water changed dramatically. It actually reduces by 400, 500 times and makes MRET water kind of like a super liquidity water. Um, this super liquidity appears only in the area of a very light uh, pressure, tangential pressure. And why it's very important? Because we know that on the regular basis, the human body is exposed to the pressure of 1 atmosphere. It's a pressure of the air on the human body. But because the human contains 1 billion of living cells, and cells, they have so-called membranes. In other words, inside the human body on the cellular level, the pressure is very, it's diminished the pressure inside the human body. It actually has the pressure inside the cells very close to the pressure which was used for our experimentation. So in other words, it means that when a human subject consumes MRET water, the water, when it goes inside the cell, immediately turns to be a liquid water because the viscosity drops by 405 times. Okay. Another experiment was regarding the oh my god, why does it work? Okay, regarding the electrodynamic characteristic of water. Another very important physical property of water is electrical conductivity and obviously dielectrical property of water. Electrical conductivity is very important. If you just talk with any medical doctor, they will explain you that based on electrical conductivity, we know what water is good for your kidney and what water is bad for your kidney. Now, what we found during our experiment actually that after MRT treatment, we found that the dielectrical property of water and conductivity, electrical conductivity of water, it has certain changes, and it's actually reduce for example, the dielectrical property of water by 7.6 times and electrical conductivity by 2.5 times. So in other words, we also have example that MRT treatment is a solid effect on the physical property of water because it's actually modified the electrodynamic characteristic of water. We also conducted a test, so-called pH test, just to find out how the MRET treatment can affect pH of the water samples. So after this testing, we came to conclusion actually that MRET device is a so-called smart device technology, because what we found that this treatment, MRET treatment, has tendency to push pH water to 7.0, which is it's a kind of like a neutral state, neutral pH state of water. So when we took the sample with with a high acidity sample and exposed to MRET treatment, we actually found that treatment reduced acidity. And on the other hand, when we took a water sample with alkalinity, we found that MRET treatment actually reduced alkalinity at the same time. So in other words, the MRET treatment water has tendency to neutralize pH of water. And based on the different medical research and statement, we know that the most profound physiological effect, healthy effect of water in the human is when actually the water content of the human body is close to the neutral state, 7.0. Why it's very important, from the medicine that the so-called test. In other words, when you take sample of saliva and measure the pH of saliva, for the healthy body, pH of saliva should be slightly alkaline. If you take sample of urine, for the healthy body, the sample of the urine should be slightly acidic. But if you take the sample of the water content of the body in the general, it should be close to the neutral state. So this is exactly what MRET technology does with the water after MRET treatment. Okay. Another experiments we conducted for MRET technology obviously related to the biological testing. So in other words, to find out how MRET treated water can affect different lines of microorganisms like bacteria, viruses. And we conducted a microbiology test with MRET water. Just one example, we conducted tests at LAPEC laboratory in Boston. It's a standard microbiology laboratory, obviously an FDA certified laboratory. And the sample of the raw fish was exposed. It was soaked actually in the activated MRET treated water, regular tap water, and for the total contact time of 5 minutes. Then samples were then tested for total coliform for comparative analysis purposes. So what we can see on this slide, that control unwashed sample, it's a blue color. The washed sample in activated MRET treated water, it's a red color. And in the yellow color, we can see a sample of the raw fish exposed to regular tap water. So you can see that exposition of raw samples of fish to MRET treated water significantly, dramatically reduce the total coliform numbers, which means that MRET treated water has a significant sterilization effect. This is another microbiology test. In this case, the test was regarding the effect of MRET treated water on Listeria bacteria. Test was conducted at Food Safety and Research Laboratory in United States under supervision of Dr. Brandon Banish. So test was conducted within 33 days. It was done with the sample of poultry. In other words, the chicken samples were taken and exposed to MRET treated water, tap water, and control samples. And then it was observed within 33 days regarding the growth of Listeria on these samples. The same effect that the blue color represents MRET treated water effect on the Listeria. The red samples is tap water, and the yellow is control samples, unwashed samples. So another very profound sterilization effect of MRET water. Actually, MRET water inhibited significantly the growth of Listeria. We also conducted tests at a Kiev State University Faculty of Biology and Immunology. Test was conducted regarding the water effect on Staphylococcus area. It's very known fact that Staphylococcus infection is very huge issue, not only in the third world countries, but also in our days in some hospitals and medical facilities in Europe and even United States. So we conducted this test in vivo and in vitro. And test was conducted when actually the mice were exposed, inoculated with Staphylococcus, and there were a control group and the two group which was actually consumed MRET treated water 2 weeks before the inoculation and then another 3 weeks after inoculation. So if you can look at this slide, you can see that after inoculation, the animals on MRET treated water, which is on the right side, there is no any significant redness, inflammation on the paw of this animal. On the other hand, if you look on the left side, you can see significant inflammation, the red spot on the paw of the mice. So it shows that the mice sitting on the consuming MRET water 2 weeks before the inoculation actually developed a significant natural resistance, natural protection against Staphylococcus infection. Okay, so what is the conclusion regarding this study? Consumption of MRET water actually stimulates development and growth of spleen, thymus, and lymphatic nodes in animals. That was found after the sacrifice of the experimental animals. It means the enhancement of immune reaction mechanism in animals. It was also found that consumption of MRET water stimulates activity of non-specific response of immune system of animals, and as initial defense against foreign agent invention. It means the Staphylococcus infections. So it was obviously observed 30% death of rate for the animals in control group, which consumed a regular laboratory water, and no animals death in the group on MRET water, which is a very significant result, I believe. Okay, another interesting experiment we conducted regarding the effect of MRET treated solution on the astrocyte cells, which is normal human brain cells, pre-exposed to a high radiation for 2 gray and 8 gray. So the high radiation of 2 gray is usually used for the treatment of oncology on a regular basis all over the globe. In other words, it's used for the radiation treatment of oncology, 2 gray. And 8 gray radiation, high radiation, is known in this, as a scientific evidence, through scientific evidence that this type of radiation considered to be lethal for the human subject. In other words, when human subject is exposed to radiation of 8 gray, sooner or later this subject is supposed to die because it's a very dangerous exposition to this type of radiation. So what we found through this experiment, then even after the exposition of normal human brain cells to the high level of radiation 8 gray, the human brain cells actually can survive much better than control samples exposed to 8 gray radiation. So in our experiment we found, and we actually repeat this experiment twice to be sure that it has a consistency. So we actually found that even after 8 gray irradiation, the normal human brain cells can survive much better than when they are introduced to MRET treated environment than regular cells, regular astrocyte cells exposed to normal environment. So in our case, there was a protective effect about 30% to 26% compared with control samples. So it's another confirmation from when in the beginning I introduced you to the very interesting result which medical doctors found during this Chernobyl leakage of nuclear power plant, and actually they found that mineral spring water supposed to help a lot of people suffering from radiation disease to go through rehabilitation. This is another scientific confirmation that it's not just an accident. It's because the MRET treated water has a significant effect to help human subject to survive even very strong lethal radiation effect. Okay, next slide. We also conducted very interesting research regarding the MRET treated water effect on different type of oncology. So it was conducted at Center of Oncology and Medical Center of Oncology and Kiev State University. And this test was conducted on two different type of oncology. It was early carcinoma and sarcoma. Test was conducted in vivo and in vitro. Okay, let me see. Okay. So this test was actually designed the way so we can test the effect of different fraction of MRET water activated for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 and 60 minutes. Okay, so during this experiment, the mice in control group, they were obviously consuming regular laboratory water, and the mice in control group consumed regular laboratory water. And other groups of experimental animals, they were consuming MRET treated water, same laboratory water after MRET treatment. And there was two group of the mice. One mice were consuming water before an inoculation of cancer cells and after inoculation of cancer cells, so-called preventive regime. And the other group was was consuming MRET water after inoculation, so-called treatment regime. So at this slide, you can see the two samples of the animals. The animals suffering from early carcinoma. On the right cells, the animals which was consumed MRET treated water during this experiment, and on the left side, animals on regular water. There is a significant difference in the size of the tumors And actually, it's quite obvious that the animals on the right sides, they survived much better even this significant a dangerous problem like early carcinoma cancer. This is another experiment for early carcinoma. We can actually see the control group on the top, and on the left corner side, we can see the group which were treated with MRET treated water. So after this 21st day of experiment, you can see a significant difference. In control group, most of the animals, they are dead. On the contrary, in the control group, they still alive, and as we found, the lifespan of animals are significantly increased despite the fact that they were introduced to the cancer cells. They survived much better, in some cases over 60% compared with control groups. This another experiment shows you the difference between the control group on the right side and the experimental group on MRET treated water on the left side. This type of animals were inoculated with sarcoma, so cancer. So what is the conclusion? So for early carcinoma case, we found 1.2 times decrease in acidic fluid content, 4.2 times decrease in tumor cells content, and actually 62% to 42% increase in lifespan for experimental animals which were consuming MRET treated water. And for sarcoma, we have 1.6 times decrease in scientific fluid content, 29% to 36% decrease in tumor cellular content, and 52% to 38% increase in lifespan. So it's very obvious that animals consuming MRET treated water had a significant improvement in their health condition compared with control animals, despite the fact that they were inoculated with very significantly serious problem like early carcinoma and sarcoma oncology. So we have another interesting experiment regarding MRET treated water effect on patients suffering from AIDS. So this experiment was conducted in Thailand under supervision of Dr. Pierrot, and the experiment was conducted in a way so when at the Probadan Health Center, which is located near Bangkok, there is about 10,000, at that time it was about 10,000 patients suffering from AIDS. Dr. Pierrot selected a group of 38 patients and put them on MRET treated water. Obviously, this patient didn't know about the fact that they supposed to consume MRET treated water. It was kind of like a blind test for them. So all these patients, they were consuming so-called antiretroviral medication. They were sitting on this antiretroviral medication. And we know from medicine that antiretroviral medication, it can significantly slow down the effect of an AIDS virus, but actually there is no cure for AIDS virus. So what was found during this experiment that after patients start to consume MRET treated water on a regular basis, during the result after 2-3 months consumption, some patients they found that some patients had a very significant rehabilitation effect. For example, on this slide, you can see one of the patients, and on the left side slide, you can see the photo of the patient before he started consumption of MRET treated water. It was August 28, 2004. And then on the right side, the same patient, July 9, 2005, almost 1 year, after 1 year of consumption of MRET treated water. So even on these photos, you can see a significant dramatic improvement in the patient, and specifically the color of the skin changed to the normal color of the skin. So what Dr. Pierrot found, because he selected several patients and did some laboratory tests for this patient for CD4 counts and for viral counts. So what he found that within this period of time, after the 11 months of consumption of MRET treated water, the CD4 count is the white blood cells. In other words, it's the main indication of immunity of the human body. The CD4 count initially for this patient, it was 2, which basically indicate that his immune system was gone, 0, none. So it was found that after the consistent consumption of MRET treated water, the CD4 counts increased and was 840. And what Dr. Pierrot told me, and then after another 6 months of observation, it was very stable. The level of this CD4 count was very stable, around 1,000, which is quite close to the normal CD4 counts for normal healthy person immune system. And the viral load shows that his viral loads indicated the less than 50. In other words, it's dropped less than 50. So to show that the virus in the human body, the number of viruses in the human body decreased significantly. And this is very interesting result as well. Okay, so there was conducted an interesting result at UCLA University in Los Angeles. And they found, this researcher found that AIDS actually continue to damage some type of brain tissue even after the patient receiving highly active antiretroviral therapy. And they were surprised why antiretroviral medication cannot stop the effect of virus damaging the brain tissue of the patients. And it was, this research was actually published in October 12, 2005, in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science, report of the UCLA University. Okay, so we actually had another interesting experiment for MRET treated water effect on the this Alzheimer type of disease, Alzheimer disease. It was conducted at the Center for Research in Neurodegenerative Disease, University of Toronto, under supervision of Dr. Fraser. It was done in vivo, in animal models. And okay, the result of this research actually was that the mice on MRET treated water, the growth of the total brain area was significantly higher compared with control animals. So it's about 15%, by 15% higher. Another interesting result was regarding the mortality rate. For MRET treatment, MRET animals treated with MRET water, there was 9% mortality rate. For the control sample, control animals, which were treated with regular water, there was 35% mortality rate. Another significant result, huge difference in mortality rate. Okay, these slides represent the research conducted at UCLA Center regarding the effect of HIV virus on the brain tissue of patients suffering from AIDS. Okay, in a short word, they found that the virus, HIV virus, actually, despite the fact that the patient are consuming antiretroviral medication, it still affect and destroy human brain tissue. And on a regular basis, after they conducted so-called MRI testing for brain tissue for patients suffering from AIDS and for healthy patients, they found there is a significant difference, about 15%, in the thickness of the gray cortex area of the brain. In other words, virus continue to kill brain tissue for the patients suffering from AIDS, despite the fact that they are consuming antiretroviral medication. Why? They came to conclusion that the blood-brain system in the human body actually prevent the antiretroviral medication to get in the brain system. It still circulates in the human body, in the bloodstream of the human body, but there is no way for this medication to penetrate to the brain tissue. And virus can penetrate. So for this reason, why the patients suffering from AIDS, there is still no significant rehabilitation effect, because medicine can slow down the effect of viral effect on the human body, but it cannot prevent the damaging effect of virus on the brain tissue. On the other hand, in our experiment with AIDS patient in Thailand, we found that after they start to consume MRET water as a complementary treatment together with antiretroviral medication, there was a significant improvement and rehabilitation of this patient. Okay. Well, there is a very interesting correlation between our research at Toronto University regarding the total brain area for the mice treated with MRET water, Alzheimer, inoculated with Alzheimer disease. There was actually 15% higher rate of total brain growth for these mice. And on the right side, the slides, the result which was found at UCLA University for the patient suffering from AIDS, there was actually found another interesting result of decrease of the brain tissue by 15%. Very interesting correlation, I tell you. Okay, now I can present you some anecdotal cases regarding MRET water effect on a patient with psoriasis. So this patient was start to consume water, and after 2 months of consumption, you can see a significant difference in their skin condition. So on the left side, it was initial condition of the skin, serious psoriasis, suffering for almost 14 years. On the right side, after 2 months of consumption of MRET water. This another patient, the same result, 21 days drinking of MRET water. On left side, initial condition, skin condition. On the right side, you can see that the skin actually clean and was almost normal. This is another anecdotal case. The patient who was suffering from cancer and lymphoma. Yeah, on the left side, initial before he can start to consume MRET water, and after a certain period of consumption, you can see he was going through a rehabilitation effect and actually present a medical statement that he was clean from the cancer cells. Okay, all this experimental research done at different universities all over the globe. The results and the experimental data, they were accumulated, analyzed, and we put it in our scientific manuscript, which was published in 2009. It's named Biophysics of Activated Water, the Physical Property, Biological Effect, and Medical Application of MRET Activated Water. So we have this scientific manuscript published in 2009 and another manuscript published in 2007. And we have a number of scientific publications at different scientific journals published during all these years. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope that this presentation helped you a lot to understand MRET technology.
So the first question, Dr. Igor, if you could put it in as simple words as you could be able to understand easier, to what extent does MRET water benefit a patient who suffers from cancer?
Okay, so basically, okay, based on our preclinical studies conducted at different universities regarding the effect of MRET-treated water on different forms of cancers, we know we did it in vivo and in vitro. It's so-called preclinical studies. It's obviously indicate that MRET water has a profound specific so-called general mechanism effect on the recovery of different form of cancer. So why it works, we have several type of hypotheses to explain this effect. But unfortunately, I cannot put it in a layman way because I need to explain a little bit about the so-called DNA structure, because the MRET water effect is so-called general mechanism effect, but it's based on DNA structure effect, structure of DNA. Because we know that the the result of the cancer is destruction of the DNA inside the cells, living cells. This is a basic concept. How the cancer cells is the cells with damaged DNA, DNA, they have two so-called strings. It's based on two strings. And if there is something happened and the cells were exposed, for example, to high radiation, to some chemicals, to some strong electromagnetic fields, it has an effect to destroy the DNA structure. In other words, disrupt the DNA string, disrupt this DNA string. And in this case, when one string is disrupted, there is so-called natural possible for the DNA to, just to rehabilitate this and to make, how to say, to cure the damaged string, to cure the damaged string, because it still has another string normal, okay? All the DNA structure is in the water. It's inside the water environment. And the DNA structure, to keep the DNA structure normal, you have a so-called coverage of water molecules, perfect coverage of water molecules around. So they can help the DNA to withstand a different serious damaging effect, like I say, radiation, electromagnetic strong signals, chemicals, poison, etc., etc. In order to keep DNA in normal structure, it needs a good water environment. And this is exactly what happened when the MRET treated water with specific linear structure, which is quite close to bioavailable intracellular water structure, goes with the help of superliquidity, which I explained, goes inside the cells. It can replace bad water, and replace this water with normal good water. And in this case, it can protect and shield DNA structure from damaging effect, outside damaging effect. This is kind of like in a layman way. But obviously, there is certain explanation of why the water can support the normal DNA structure. But it's too scientific, and I just don't want to go inside this science. But this is just in general to understand, because there is, let's say, good water and bad water. When bad water is inside the cells, it cannot protect DNA structure against damaging effect, outside damaging effect. But when it's a good water, it can support DNA to keep normal structure. That's general mechanism, general explanation.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Igor. I'm pretty sure our viewers will appreciate your thorough explanation on that. So adding to that on the cancer patients and all, how has MRET water benefited the Fukushima radiation relief efforts? Obviously, we all know what happened with Fukushima. Chernobyl went through a similar phase, but on a larger scale. But I'm sure Fukushima is still very fresh in everyone's mind. So how did MRET water benefit the radiation relief efforts in Fukushima?
Okay, yeah, again, based on our experiment, for example, regarding the effect of MRET treated water on oncology, we know that it can, we did preclinical study, and we know it can help, actually prevent growth of cancer cells. It can help remove cancer cells, and it can help stop growth of cancer cells. So we know that one of the major unwanted effect of high dosage radiation is cancers, obviously. This is number one. And knowing that MRET treated water can reduce the development of oncology, this is one explanation regarding the benefit for the Fukushima people. It can prevent development of cancer cells. On the other hand, I just presented another interesting experiment we conducted in vitro regarding the effect of high dosage radiation on the normal human brain cells, astrocyte cells. When we expose these cells to 8 grade radiation level. 8 grade is a lethal effect on human subjects. It means that when the human subject is exposed to 8 grade radiation level, sooner or later this subject's supposed to die anyway. It's a so-called scientific fact. But what we found when the astrocyte cells were exposed to 8th grade, pre-exposed to 8th grade radiation, and then these astrocyte cells, they were uh, placed in the MRET treated cellular medium, MRET treated, we found that the growth of the normal astrocyte cells was much higher in the samples with MRET treated environment compared with control, about 35 to 26%. It means even after this dangerous, harsh effect of 8th grade radiation, the normal human brain cells survived and can grow much better compared with control, because control basically died within certain period of time. So it's another significant fact that MRET-treated water can help in the case of radiation disease.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Igor. Thanks for sharing that insight. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will be very interested to know what you have just said. And definitely, I could see how much benefit MRET water can bring, including to cancer patients or people who have been exposed to radiation. So just imagine what it could, what benefits it could bring for normal, healthy people like ourselves. So
Right.
moving on to the next question, Dr. Igor, because I'm trying to keep to our time and all as well. So this would be my last question for you before we move on to the next stage of this webinar. Dr. Chong was with us today early on during this webinar. So in his talk, he did mention how he was introduced to MRET and how he actually introduced this technology to the founder of Genting Group, which is the late Tan Sri Lim Gotong. Now, obviously, he mentioned something about his kidney showing signs of improvement and everything after 2 weeks of consuming MRET activated water. So in your words, Dr. Igor, how does kidney dialysis patients benefit from drinking MRET water?
Okay, because MRET water, as I said, MRET water, the viscosity of MRET water significantly is reduced in sometime by 400 times compared with regular water. So when the MRET water goes inside the human body, it can actually penetrate all the areas in the human body, including some areas, even the bloodstream, blood vessels, and even the vessels with the clots, okay, where normal water cannot get inside. Okay, so for this reason, water can remove the clots and remove some foreign materials from the blood system, and including the blood system of the kidneys, because the main component for the kidney dilution is because they cannot function properly because of the poor supply of the supplied blood vessels. So if we can resume the normal supply of the blood to the kidney, we can actually rejuvenate the kidney function. So this is one aspect. Another aspect is that water itself can remove through different system the foreign materials from water, like toxins, heavy metals, etc. So in other words, because of this liquidity, it can remove the toxin materials from the water despite the kidney, for example, through the skin pore, through different other, mechanisms. And it can help to reduce the pressure on the kidney when they are not normal, okay? So in general, if we conclude that MRET water can actually rejuvenate the cells, kidney cells, function of the kidney cells, by improvement of the bloodstream supply to the kidney. And on the other hand, it can remove unwanted foreign materials from the blood, from the urine, from the saliva, from the sweating, through the sweating. Another help for the kidney, reduce the pressure on the kidney. So in combination, if you take it for the long period of time, it can help to rejuvenate and resume the function of the kidney cells.
Wonderful, Dr. Igor. Thank you so much. Just one last thing that I would like to have a dialogue with you is on a very concerning topic which you have touched early on in the beginning before you did your presentation. Now, obviously, there's a lot of counterfeits that's been flooding the market ever since we took over, since 2019. We Pegasus Aqua, we can confidently say that we know our product is genuine because we just got our recent batch of polymers and PCBs from you. And I think there's another shipment coming in as well. So in your own words, Dr. Igor, what are the concerns of these counterfeits that are circulating in the market? And what are the effects of people who buy these products that claim to be your product, your technology, Dr. Igor, when they're not getting all these polymers from you?
Yeah, well, I tell you, it's a very serious issue, and it's not just because of the, this unfair competition to our companies, Pegasus and Global Quantum Company. The main reason is that unauthorized product, they can claim whatever they can claim, but it's actually not original, authentic product from Global Quantum Company. And for this reason, when they start to use the different type of untested polymer material, which they created on their own, for example, based on my 25 years research, I know that it's not just a simple experiment when you use a different type of polymer. If you use a wrong type of polymer with wrong incorporation of wrong materials, it can actually create a dangerous effect on the water treatment. And if you start to consume this type of water, it can actually produce unwanted health effect, dangerous effect, because you have to be very specific. You have to know exactly the formulation for MRET treated polymer composition in order to create a health beneficial effect. In most cases, if you don't know and you just put whatever you think is available under your hand, you can create maybe different, dangerous, unwanted effect on the human body physiology. This is number one. Number two, I've heard that some company, they try to use the so-called MRET treated polymer after actually 7,400 hours of usage. In other words, polymer which was used before, and this type of polymer, they has no power to treat water. It's already gone. And in this case, it's also useless device. This device cannot treat water properly. And as a result, some naive people, they buy these unauthorized devices and try to, believe that they can consume water and get some positive health effect. It's not. It's on one hand, it may even lead to some dangerous effect. And
Right.
I'm pretty sure about it.
Okay.
So I have to tell that people should be smart, should understand that they supposed to use authorized product, authorized devices, and in our situation, in this case, this product for South Pacific area is made only by Pegasus Aqua company in Malaysia.
Well, thank you for that acknowledgement and endorsement, Dr. Igor. And definitely it is a very concerning thing, especially when people out there are trying to, pass off counterfeit and expired polymers or whatever as the original goods, even though they're selling it at a cheaper price. But like what you said, you don't know what detrimental effects it could have on the people using it. So these are some of the people who are very unethical in the market who are trying to sell these sort of products. So you guys have heard it directly from Dr. Igor, so make sure you know what you're buying. And as what Dr. Igor has said, Pegasus Aqua is currently the only distributor and manufacturer in this region. So if you have any concerns, any queries, feel free to always check with Dr. Igor directly with his company or with Pegasus Aqua. We've got all our dealers and information on our company on our website. If there's any queries whatsoever, please do let us know. Contact us before you decide to buy any products that is not under Pegasus Aqua or Dr. Igor himself. With that, Dr. Igor, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure having you. And as always, we appreciate having a dialogue and conversation with you. Thank you so much, Dr. Igor.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Yeah. All right, guys. Further to our conversation with Dr. Igor, we all know how important it is to be able to identify the real products in the market. So obviously, Pegasus Aqua has gone a step further in helping our customers identify our products in the market by introducing a QR code. So with that, I'm bringing TK Lim to explain more on our QR code function. Over to you, TK.
Thank you. So thank you for staying with us in this webinar. So yes, it's true there's very many counterfeits or alternative products which claim to be MRET activating devices. So in light of that, Pegasus Aqua has actually gone a step further to create a database system, so to give the customers and the users a peace of mind so that they can actually use their own mobile phone and basically just scan the QR code. And then they can be able to track their own names or their own exactly whether this is ownership is theirs or not. So this is a back-end system that cannot be broken. It is a secure system from Pegasus Aqua. I hope this will be give all the end users a better idea that they come to Pegasus Aqua to get their genuine products.
And a better peace of mind as well, as how you would put it, yeah.
Exactly.
So guys, again, we would like to stress, like throughout the whole seminar, what we've been trying to tell everyone. Get the real products, verify, check before you make any purchases. Go to www.pegasusaqua.com. Reach out to us, our contact numbers, distributors, and all are there. And if you have to, go all the way to Dr. Igor before you make your first purchase.